Hello and welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where today we're running through 10 managers who, for whatever reason, can't seem to get hired. Let's get into it. 10. Jurgen Klinsmann. One of Germany's greatest ever strikers has had a mixed managerial career. Jurgen Klinsmann's first foray into coaching was with Die Mannschaft in 2004, and he was commended for his attacking style as Germany finished third in the 2006 World Cup, outscoring tournament winners Italy. However, it would go downhill from there. Taking the Bayern Munich job in 2008, Klinsmann was sacked in his debut campaign, with the defending Bundesliga champions languishing in third. He then took charge of the United States in 2011, leading the side to a Gold Cup trophy and the last 16 of the 2014 World Cup, before he was shown the door 2 years later. In 2019, Hertha Berlin came calling, but Klinsmann would only last 10 weeks as manager, resigning after falling out with the board. The Stuttgart legend has been out of a job ever since and is eager to return to management, telling the BBC of his desire to take over at Tottenham, even admitting to calling chairman Daniel Levy after Jose Mourinho was let go in April. Sadly for Jurgen, a return to Spurs seems unlikely, and after failing to impress in club management, he could be waiting a while for his next top job. 9. Quique Setien. Renowned for his entertaining and offensive style over the years, Quique Setien's managerial record will forever be tainted by his underwhelming short-lived spell at Barcelona. After 19 years of managing mid-table and lower league sides in Spain, Setien was finally given his big break in January 2020, replacing Ernesto Valverde at the Camp Nou. The 62-year-old had previously impressed in spells at Las Palmas and most recently Real Betis, guiding Los Beticos to 6th place in 2017-18, their highest finish since 2004-05. But the Spaniard of course struggled to make the step up at Barca. The Blaugrana failed to defend their title in 2019-20, finishing second to Real Madrid, 5 points behind Zidane's men. Meanwhile, defeats to Athletic Club and Bayern Munich in the Copa del Rey and Champions League would leave him trophyless. And it was the latter that would severely tarnish his name, as Barca were thrashed 8-2 by the German champions, the first time in 74 years that the club had conceded 8 goals in a game. Setien was sacked just 3 days later after only 25 games in charge. Out of work since, and with no big clubs seemingly interested, an eventual return to Betis may be his only option. 8. Sol Campbell. Having once described himself as one of the greatest minds in football, Sol Campbell is yet to justify this statement, although it's early days for the 46-year-old. The Arsenal legend was handed his first chance in management with Macclesfield Town in November 2018, then bottom of League 2 and 5 points adrift of safety. Under Campbell, the Cheshire club finished 3 points above the relegation places, staying up on the last day of the season. But an impressive start to life in management was followed up by a disastrous spell at Southend United. The ex-England defender took charge of the Shrimpers in October 2019, but just 3 wins in 21 games left them 16 points from safety, and after the season was curtailed due to the pandemic, Southend were relegated to League 2. Campbell left by mutual consent shortly after, and has struggled to find a job since. Previous rejections to coach Grimsby, Oxford and even the England national team have not helped his cause. A divisive figure, not least in North London, Sol Campbell's mixed managerial record sees many clubs continue to overlook him. 7. Roberto Di Matteo. The only Champions League winning manager to make our list, Roberto Di Matteo's career has drastically declined ever since that magical night in Munich. And the Italian had had a strong start to life in management, taking MK Dons to third in League One in his debut campaign, and then gaining automatic promotion to the Premier League in his first season with West Brom. The former Chelsea player returned to Stamford Bridge in 2011-12 as assistant to Andre Villas-Boas. Of course, the Portuguese only lasted 8 months, and Di Matteo was awarded the caretaker role until the end of the season, leading Chelsea to the FA Cup and Champions League. And we all know what happened next. Handed the permanent job, Di Matteo was remarkably sacked just 6 months later after a poor start to the 12-13 season. A move to Schalke followed in the summer of 2014, but he would only stay one campaign after failing to qualify for the Champions League. And a return to England with Aston Villa in 2016 only worsened matters, as he was relieved of his duties after taking just 10 points from 11 games. Di Matteo has been offered roles in China and the USA since, but is yet to be offered a job sufficient enough to get him back on the touchline. 6. Vincenzo Montella. A Serie A goal machine in his heyday at Genoa, Sampdoria and Roma, Vincenzo Montella kick-started his managerial career with strong spells at Catania and Fiorentina. Following an interim stint as Roma boss, the 47-year-old led Catania to mid-table in 2011-12, ahead of Sicilian rivals Palermo for the first time in 8 years. But it was at Fiorentina where he would have the best time, with 3 successive 4th place finishes. Despite this, Montella was sacked in 2015 and the Tuscan outfit have failed to finish in the top 4 since. Short spells at Sampdoria and AC Milan followed, securing a Europa League spot with the latter. But after spending €200 million in the summer of 2017, Milan had a disappointing start to the following season, winning just 6 of their first 14 games. Montella got the chop in November and joined Sevilla just 4 weeks later. However, he managed only 28 games in Spain before returning to Fiorentina, where he lasted just 8 months, with a 22% win rate. Out of work since 2019, the former Fulham striker recently rejected an offer from the Iran national team and has spoken of his desire to one day manage Italy. But having been fired by 2 different clubs in a single campaign, he should probably lower his expectations. 5. Dunga. A complete managerial novice, with his only credentials being the leadership skills he showed captaining the Selecao to the 1994 World Cup, Dunga seemed like an enormous risk when appointed manager of Brazil in 2006. Coming just weeks after their painful World Cup quarter-final exit at the hands of France, and with players such as Dida, Cafu, Roberto Carlos and Zé Roberto all on the wrong side of 30, it was clear that Brazil needed a rebuild. His first stint was largely very successful though. He won 70% of his matches, picked up the 2007 Copa America, a medal at the 2008 Olympic Games and the 2009 Confederations Cup. But come the 2010 World Cup, the tide of public opinion was beginning to turn. He refused to take Neymar and Pato, and when they failed to make it past the quarterfinals once again, he was gone. Out of work for 4 years, he then lasted just 10 months in charge of Internacional and then was inexplicably reappointed by Brazil in July 2014. His second stint included a Copa America exit at the hands of Paraguay and then the club's first group stage exit in their history the following year after a loss to Peru. He's been out of work ever since. 4. Eddie Howe. Okay, we're being a bit cheeky with this one because of course Eddie Howe was hours away from being appointed manager of Celtic before pulling out. But it's clear that the former Bournemouth boss has been unable to land a job that he wants. The Athletic claimed that Howe had urged the Hoops to appoint former Cherries technical director Richard Hughes as director of football, but when Hughes turned it down, Howe started to worry. With long-term chief exec Peter Lawwell stepping down this summer and Howe reportedly struggling to appoint an assistant, he clearly believed the structure wasn't there for him to thrive in Scotland. It's now been 10 months since he ended his 8-year stint on the south coast, and he has thus far failed to land any of the 5 English top-flight jobs since. Eddie must be feeling a little nervous. 3. Ernesto Valverde. After a well-travelled managerial career which had seen him reach the UEFA Cup final with Espanyol, win 3 league titles with Olympiacos, and qualify for 4 consecutive years of European football with Athletic Club, Ernesto Valverde was appointed Barcelona manager in May 2017. In charge during the infamous Bartomeu era when the club spent inflated fees on Coutinho, Griezmann and Dembele, as well as bringing in flops like Malcolm and Boateng, Valverde did well to keep Barcelona on track, winning 2 league titles and a Copa del Rey. But Champions League collapses to Roma and Liverpool were never forgiven, and Bartomeu jumped at the chance to sack him after a Super Copa semi-final defeat in January 2020, despite their position at the top of the league. He may well have regretted that decision when the Blaugrana finished the campaign 5 points adrift of Real and out of the Champions League, having been humiliated 8-2 by Bayern. Having recently opened a photography exhibition in San Sebastian, Valverde has claimed he is now ready to return to work and hasn't ruled out a move to the Premier League. 2. Roy Keane. Unlike many of the names on this list, Roy Keane's career in the dugout has been very underwhelming. Appointed Sunderland boss in August 2016 with the side's second bottom in the Championship, a remarkable run of 16 wins in 20 games saw the Black Cats promoted as champions. He managed to keep a side littered with former Man United players up in his second season before being sacked just before Christmas in 2008. His subsequent spell in charge of Ipswich was far more disappointing, as he could only steer them to 15th in his one full season in Suffolk. Since then, managerial opportunities have been hard to come by, although he did assist Martin O'Neill for 5 years with the Republic of Ireland, which included a run to the last 16 of Euro 2016, where they lost to eventual finalists France. Acting in his familiar role as a pundit at Euro 2020, Keane has continued to make headlines throughout, first questioning Jordan Henderson's call-up and then labelling Joao Felix an imposter for missing a chance during their 1-0 defeat to Belgium. Nevertheless, he is reportedly keen on a return to management. 1. Marco Silva. Still aged just 43, Marco Silva's career has completely gone off the rails in recent years. After a solid start with Estoril Sporting Club and a league title win with Olympiacos, Hull City appointed him as their first non-British coach since 2002 in January 2017. He failed to keep them up, but wins over Jose Mourinho's Man United and Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, not to mention his penchant for 5 at the back, suggested he had something about him. After resigning in May 2017, he criticised the pitch at the KCOM Stadium, saying it was more suitable for rugby, and this wouldn't be the last time that Silva angered his employers. After a strong start at Watford, speculation began to grow in November 2017 that Everton were interested. The Hornets' form collapsed as they won 5 points from a possible 30, with Silva's perceived lack of focus seen as the main factor. Everton's approach was later compensated by £4 million in February 2019. Despite spending £207 million on new signings at Goodison Park, Everton were in freefall when he was sacked in December 2019. He had lost 5 in 6 games against newly promoted sides and only picked up 5 points from his previous 28 games, having fallen behind. With the lowest win percentage of the post-Moyes era, it's no surprise that Silva has struggled for work since. So those were our 10 managers who can't get a job, but what did you make of it? Do you have any suggestions yourself? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like and of course subscribe to Euro Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.